People of the world, welcome to Send It Rising. Yeah, you know what I'm going to say. I don't believe in coincidences. I believe that the people that enter into our lives enter for a specific reason, one way or the other. And all of the interviews that I've had thus far on the show have been absolutely fantastic. And today will be no different. Backstage, I was chatting with our guest today. We're talking about reels, what actually is going to work. We're talking about the seamless loop. Are you familiar? You're watching a reel and all of a sudden it's back at the beginning, but you didn't realize this is important, obviously, because of watch time. We had a great conversation backstage about some PhD vibes, which we'll get into with our guest today. And last but not least, let me tell you that you're in for a treat in regards to social media and internet marketing education. Our guest on the show, the one, the only, Lindsay Sims.
Thank you so much. I appreciate the intro. That was fantastic.
Good times. So what should I be doing? What should clients be doing in internet marketing? What should they be focusing on in 2022?
Well, I think that what we should always focus on, if we're going to really not use gimmicks, because I'm so not a fan of gimmicks, the one thing that we need to focus on is what our clients actually want. Because that'll keep you gimmick free. It's not what is it? It's not a gimmick if someone asks for it. And if your clients are looking for certain types of engagement and certain types of content, that's what we should be really focusing on and trying our best to give our clients what they're looking for, our potential customers, what they're looking for in ways that are going to be friendly to the platforms that we're posting on. So I think that's kind of how we get into the conversation of reels and shorts and all these things. Is it's not about following a trend so much as it's about kind of catering to the platform that you're on and putting the content out that the platform wants to promote, but focusing on your client first.
Yes, that's beautiful. I'm reminded as you talk of how my fiance and I will go to certain places because someone took a look at a restaurant on TikTok. So there's these brands that are, let me show you around Vegas, right? Here's all these cool Vegas things. How do you become the restaurant that is reviewed by the influencer? Well, you have an amazing restaurant. Right.
Yeah.
So it does at the end of the day for many people boil down to understanding that you want people to talk about you. Why should they? Pink Box Donuts is a good example. I went in there the other day and no seating, right? They're just like, get your donuts and go. The donuts are amazing. They're hilarious. They're fun. They're funny. But they gave a prominent position to some statue of some cute thing. And on it says, take a picture with me. So businesses are starting to merge those two worlds together.
It's so simple, and I think people take for granted, business owners, especially brick and mortar business owners, they take for granted the simplicity of asking for someone to do something, especially asking them to do something that they're already going to do. It's just a great opportunity, and more of us need to be taking advantage of that.
Yeah, Instagrammable. What is that? Is that an adjective? Yes. The location was Instagrammable.
Yes, it's an adjective, a noun, and a verb.
Post it on the gram. So here's why I can't stop talking about reels. So Instagram reels, I was a late adopter. Everyone was talking about them and I was like, what? Because I wasn't a user. And this is the mistake that I've continuously made. Is that I don't hop on the new technology as a user. I think creator first. And that's always a mistake because it's impossible to use a medium where you don't enjoy it first. I mean, maybe not impossible, but definitely harder.
I'm going with impossible.
Yeah.
I think, whenever I talk to people, again, I do digital marketing education more than I do anything else. I do have a few clients, but those are like people who are like heart clients. Like I take them on because I feel like they're drowning and they need help. But for the most part, with my students, I'm like, if you're not on the platform, you shouldn't be posting. Not because, I don't believe people shouldn't post places where they're not visible, because I honestly don't care if you cross post and all that. Some of those things work really well for small businesses. We have to remember what we're doing here. We're not trying to be famous. We're trying to make money. And so, but for the people who are like, oh no, I really want to get into reels, or I really want to start doing YouTube videos. And I'm always like, well, who are you subscribed to on YouTube? Who are you following on Instagram? Like that doesn't have nothing to do with your industry, that you're doing it because you like it. And if their answer is nobody, then I'm like, let's make a list. Like, I need you to follow some hashtags, make a list, like actually get out and be a part of the platform. Don't say I need to be on TikTok when you literally are not on TikTok. Like, like get on there and like use it as a person and figure out what's working and what looks good to you as a person, and then, you know, work with your business. So
Beautiful. I mean, it would be likened to an interviewer talking to a musician saying, "Who are your influences?" And they would say, "I don't really listen to music. I just make it."
I kid you not. I had an experience recently with someone who has a food product, and it's actually a food product that I ran into in the wild, but I am now instructing this person on some marketing activities. And it was really funny because I was like, oh, well, there's this type of food product and that type of food product, because I'm a food person. Like anything food related, I'm on it. And I have lots of people I've worked with in the past who have food product based companies. And oh my goodness, I was going on, and this person looked at me and was like, oh, well, I've never eaten that, or I've never had that, or I've never tried that. And I looked and I was almost like, you make food for a living and you're not even a little bit curious about these food products? I'm talking, it just astonished me. So it's amazing though that we can do that as business owners. We get totally myopic and we don't want to venture into new areas because, you know, we're focused on our thing. Well,
Yeah,
if we want to do
myopic is a great word to describe it.
yeah.
And I'll talk to, you know, because I do speed networking and I'm constantly talking to people, and I'm just on this whole Reels kick. And when I say Reels, I mean TikTok, Instagram Reels, YouTube Shorts, and now Facebook.
Yeah.
And the fact that Facebook finally went fine. Oh, also, guess who the newest user on TikTok is? Facebook.
Oh,
They signed
Facebook,
up
yeah.
for it. I
Yeah.
think that is the funniest. I think that reminds
own
me of like
verified account on TikTok.
MySpace creating a Facebook account. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Their stock is down 50% from September. And I know everyone's hemorrhaging. I know everyone's freaking out about the economy and everything going on,
Yeah.
but that is a precipitous drop. And so I don't know. I talk a lot of trash about Facebook. Maybe I shouldn't. Maybe that's wrong of me to do that. But I feel like, you know, truth to power when it comes to some of these larger corporations. Anyway, point I'm trying to make is Facebook Reels have been good to me so far. I was sharing that with you backstage. It's like everything's north of 400, 600. I've only done 3 of them, but they're brand new. And I don't know if business owners listening to this now, live or after the fact, are interested in diving into these things. But it feels like Reels are the future, man. It feels like, you know, like going and making a reel and distributing it on all 4 of these platforms feels like a chore that we should incorporate into our life.
I think that I've been saying this for a while. I've been doing video like you. I've been doing video content for some years, and I just do it on other people's platforms usually. And one of the things that I found is that short video, that's you say Reels is your like short, you know, shorthand. I just say short video. Short form video is like, it's been the edge for the past like 3 years. It's just a matter of as small business owners catching up to it because it's already been like, okay, keep them short, keep it short. And the stupid thing is short video should be easy for us because we're the people who have the least amount of time to be playing around anyway. And so like, get to the point, like, you know, short video. I'm telling people constantly, if you don't have time to make a 60-second video, then you certainly don't have time to make a 60-minute one. Like, let's get it together, people. So
yep, I love it. I feel like the path forward, and I get criticized about this a lot because for me to make content every single day, I need to be talking about Facebook, about TikTok, about the news of these giant social media companies because A, that's interesting to me, and B, giving like a marketing tip every day is not that interesting to me. It's just like I wouldn't be on episode almost 400 of this show. I wouldn't have gone this far. I wouldn't be able to produce that much content talking about Facebook using a company out of Africa to do like content moderation, but through a third-party vendor, and these people getting PTSD and needing therapy and then being underpaid. That's interesting to me. And that's something I want to share. And I will share when Google Maps updates something, but Snorefest, right? It's not that interesting. And so the
Yeah.
criticism is that I'm making content that isn't necessarily leading my audience to believe that I own the digital agency and all that sort of thing. But
Mhm.
for me, it's audience first. I mean, this
Yeah.
was the Facebook model: create an audience, monetize after.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that, I mean, it's interesting because as a small business educator, I'm always trying to help people walk the line between those two things. So between building your own audience for the sake of building an audience, which I do very strongly believe in, but also building up a content stream that is so tied to what you do that people marry them. So
Mhm.
your audience and your content match up so well that it's no one would ever say to you, "Oh, why are you doing that video?" Like
That's right.
when you get to that point, I think it's magic, but it also requires people do like what you're doing, which is to go out there and try stuff. And that's the thing that a lot of business owners, especially, I mean, I own a semi agency, you own an agency. We can test stuff out. We can go out into the world and be a little bit more experimental. And I think it's because we're brave, not because we're special, because someone who owns a donut company can do the same thing that we're doing. It's just a matter of them coming back and testing something different if that doesn't work. And that's the challenge that most small business owners have, is that they'll do something experimental, and if that one experiment doesn't work, or if it doesn't hit the way that they want it to, they won't try something different. It just kind of puts them off the idea of
Mhm.
doing anything. And so,
Mm.
we need you. We need you out there, like, giving people permission essentially to talk about things that aren't quote unquote directly related in order
Ah.
to, see what actually does resonate with the audience, to get something out there that's going to be a little bit more interesting.
Yeah, I just for me, boredom is the enemy unless I'm deep in meditation, contemplating my navel,
Yeah.
approaching enlightenment. From an advertising perspective, because if you don't get any attention at all, what's the point? And I
Yeah.
feel like the noise is like that gray staticky screen that we used to experience on the television back in the
Mhm.
day.
Mhm.
It's unwatchable. And
Mhm.
that's what I think. For example, this format, the format that we are currently on right now, two
Mhm.
talking heads, it's everywhere.
Oh, and
And
has been for
oh,
years.
it's just,
Yeah.
I mean, and so like,
Mhm.
why would I listen to these two talking heads versus the billion other two talking heads videos that
Yeah.
I could watch, right? And so it's because of the TikTok, right? It's because the audience on the social media platform, you've ingratiated yourself slowly into their world, and
Mhm.
now they're willing to give you the time of day when it
Yes.
comes to like, am I, like if I can give you 60 seconds, it's almost like we're investing in how much time they're willing to give us. They'll give us
Yeah.
20 seconds, then they'll give us
Yep.
45 seconds,
Yep.
then they'll give us 2 minutes, and then they'll
Yep.
give us 10 minutes.
It is, and I hate what I'm about to say, but people constantly use marketers constantly use the analogy of going up to someone at a bar, and I feel like if as small business owners we were a little bit more in tune with that analogy, maybe we would be more comfortable with the types of content that we need to create at different stages in a relationship. Because in reality, we
Mm,
need to be constantly making all of the different types of content, not just the little intro content, but we also need to be nurturing the relationships that we have over here. We need to be sending out emails. We need to be doing longer form videos so that people can get to know us a little bit better. And when I say need, I don't mean literally all at the exact same time. You might go through phases because you have a business. You got to go make the donuts at some point. And so, you might go through a phase where you're making a bunch of TikToks or a bunch of short form videos, and you maybe don't put them all out at the same time. Maybe you trickle them out over time, and then another phase where you're going through and you're batching up some of the longer form content, or you're writing some blog posts, or you're going on an email writing binge. The point though is that instead of us, getting tied to one thing, often as small business owners, we need to learn that it's totally okay to, I hate to say the word abandon, but to like abandon a
mm,
thread over here and move over to another one if, like you said earlier, if it's more interesting, if that's where the audience is. It's not about being trendy. It's not about being gimmicky, but it is about kind of supporting the fact that you're a human and that you have to be interested in the thing that you're
mm.
doing, and that the person who's watching it has to be interested in the thing you're doing. And also that you might run into people at different stages in their relationship with you. And if you have those different bits of content, it makes it so much easier to get those people on board, like you said, through a little 20-second here, and then maybe a minute over here, and maybe 5 minutes over here, and maybe 20 minutes. But you kind of need all of those different versions of reality in order to really hook people nowadays.
Brilliant. I sat down with an employee of mine, Shali, who's amazing, and we literally came up with about 20 topics of how we were going to do these very specific marketing centric reels.
Mhm.
And I almost made one. I couldn't do it. I simply was unable. I was just like, ugh. Like it was pulling teeth. It
Yeah.
was horrible.
Yeah.
And meanwhile, I can feel, you always hear these motivational speakers talking about like, it doesn't matter if you feel like it. This isn't the point. Like, if you want to be successful, like, you need to get over this. Like, I don't feel like, no. It's just you do it regardless, right?
Yeah.
When it comes to the skateboard videos, I can do those even if I'm having a bad day. If I'm feeling
Yeah.
sad, if I'm feeling depressed, if I'm being
Yep.
anxiety ridden, whatever, I can still pump one of those out. And so I'm going to follow this pattern and see where it leads me. And I'm just so excited about short form videos. And I feel like people, one of the reasons they don't get into TikTok is I think it's booty shaking, because they're
Yeah.
not doing what you mentioned earlier, which is actually enjoying it as a consumer, excuse me. But once you get in there and you let the algorithm do its work, you realize it's really strong. And then what I love about TikTok is the same thing I'm seeing in Facebook Reels, which is you will actually receive hundreds of views, even if you don't have an audience. And that's the
Yeah.
main takeaway for folks listening out there. It's like, if you aren't on Reels yet, the first Reels you'll put out on TikTok will get hundreds of views, which are way more than you're going to get on like a YouTube video.
Yep.
Because the millions of hours that are being uploaded every day, you're a wash. You're never going to
Yeah.
make it.
Yeah, it's so true. Like, you can get the visibility you get from it can be so high. And what I encourage people to do, because that visibility is so high, is I don't want you to start with a plan like you have to do this exact step-by-step sequence. That actually always kind of chafes my craw. And on top of that, when you start falling into the gimmick mode, is that, okay, well, you have to follow this one up with this exact same phrasing and blah, blah, blah. Ain't none of that stuff true in the first place. So the real truth is that the best way to approach any of these is to have more than one piece of content ready when you start launching. So kind of going in that order that we were talking about, go on, start figuring out what you like. And then once you do figure out what you like and what matches with what your audience likes, then create a bunch of them, even if you don't release them all at once. Like, create a bunch of little things that you're like, I like this, I like how this feels, because it's easy for you to do, and then release them over time, but like relatively quickly, because every single one of these platforms like grows on momentum. So the more videos you produce, the more likely you are to get more hits. And so that's one of the challenges that, again, small business owners face, is that we get out there, we create one reel, and then we like go dormant. And I mean me, I'll do it for myself. I have like clients we work with and things like that, where I'm like, okay, let's coordinate. We do like a whole set. And then for myself, I do two and then move on with my life. And what is better is if you actually do have a plan to have some sort of consistency, because A, the platform wants it, and B, the people want it. I don't know about you, but me personally, on TikTok or on Reels, I follow people just like I do on YouTube. And so there are people who I'm like waiting for their TikTok every night. I'm like, okay, I'm going to go through, and these are the 6 people I want to see. And if they don't have new content, I'm like, well, where did they go? I'm not seeing anything. And so we want people to feel like that about us, but we want to then satisfy them by actually having that content coming out. And we can't do that if we're not prepared. So
yes, I love it. So the basal ganglia, which sounds like something you'd put on pasta, is a part of the brain that fires when we are deep in habit. And so when the first time we reverse out of a driveway as a teenager, it's terrifying. It's like the scariest thing that's ever happened. You're like, well, I'm going to die. How do you switch to
kill everyone on the street? It's going to be horrible.
Yeah, it's just the worst. And then, by the time you're my age, you're just like, huh, what? Like you're like switching the Spotify tune, you're doing it, whatever. And so the reason we're able to do that is the basal ganglia holds the load of the repetitive task unconsciously, essentially. And so my big suggestion to folks is to make it a habit, right? So for me, I like the everyday, but that's not everybody. Like my sister, who's very famous on TikTok and does really well on the social media platforms, she'll do 4 or 5 videos at a time. That's her style. So that works. Cool. But she's very, very consistent. For
Yep.
me, I love routine, and that's just how my mind works. So
Mhm.
like my show is on the same day or the same time every day. I've got my weekly BNI meeting at the same time. I've got
Mhm.
my morning meetings at the same time every day, and then after all those things, I film my TikTok. It's like I just set myself up for success that way.
Yeah.
So whatever you need to do, listener, to get into the habit of
Yeah.
creating reels, and then it can grow from there, which again,
Mhm.
I just did TikTok. That for the longest time I just did TikTok, and now I'm doing four platforms because it's not that much more difficult. And
Nope.
then when you finally realize, when you log into YouTube Shorts, then you go to Instagram, and then you go to TikTok, and then you go to Facebook, you find yourself doing the same four things, like edit, add a little title, do,
Mhm.
add the description, hashtag, 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 and you do
Yep.
that 5 times, and voila.
Yep. Very, very true. And I think, I'm very similar to you. I'm a routine oriented person, but I have an undiagnosed business owner ADD, right?
Mm.
So I like novelty. And
Ah.
when I tell people who are like me, if any people who are routine, diehard routine people, they don't need this advice. But if you are a diehard routine person who also likes novelty, I'm a high discipline person, but I love novelty. What I do instead of driving myself crazy is I batch, because I'll get
Oh,
fixated on something and I can batch like 20 through 30 of that thing and then move on and do something else because I want to do something new. I want to be doing something else. And so, yeah, if you crave novelty, it doesn't mean that you can't be consistent. It just means that you need to leverage the heck out of your time so that while you're in high creation mode, create as much as possible before you get distracted and move on.
oh, it's so true. It's so true. Know thyself.
Yes. Yes.
What was the deal the other day? I am trying to buy a house in this market, and the
I just did.
self-employed,
So I know.
the
Yeah.
loan process. Like I see,
Yeah.
I feel like I'm on the fifth circle of hell, and there are demons circling me, and I'm like, why? So anyway, trying to get through this, and the most recent debacle was that I needed to provide IRS government tax documents where I'd have to sign into the IRS, and my anxiety went through the roof. I was like,
Mhm.
here we go, because I have multiple companies over multiple years with multiple tax returns. I'm like,
Mhm.
am I even going to get logged into the IRS website? If you try, there are literally websites that will go, and this isn't hyperbolic, 12 steps in order to get someone on the phone. They're like, if you want to get someone on the phone from the
Right.
IRS, do this, click that, hit this number,
Yep.
they'll say this,
Yep.
wait for this, da,
Yep.
da, da. And then
Yep.
eventually you're finally talking to Mr. Smith. Um, I got someone on the phone in the IRS once. He literally says, "This is Mr. Smith. Is this Mr. Kautzman?" Like, it's this like sort of like bureaucratic drone land. It's very
Yeah.
confusing. I don't like it. Anyway, long story short, the uh, the stress I was feeling has sort of an arc to it, and I was going to eat a big pizza from Costco, and I had to say no to the pizza because I knew if I ate the pizza, I'd be too sleepy to deal with the IRS thing. Long story short, know thyself. If you're a batcher, get your batch done. Like when
Yep.
you're feeling that high creativity, go for it.
Yep.
Knock it out. Like play to your strengths.
Play to your
Um,
strengths.
and if you're like me and you're Mr. Routine, then
Yeah.
get it set up that way.
I think that is I heard someone who shall not be named say that self-awareness is a superpower, and
Mm.
I completely agree. I think that the more, especially as small business owners, the thing that we need to do is be as self-aware as possible. And I would even say as marketers in general, it doesn't matter whether you own your own business or not. If you're a marketer and you don't know who you are, you're going
Mm.
to have a real hard time marketing other people, because half of marketing, 75% of marketing is understanding humans. And so if you don't understand yourself, you're definitely not going to have the empathy it takes to understand other people. And good marketing is just empathy. Like, it's figuring out what other people are feeling and experiencing, and then handing them content that works for whatever state they're in. And we can't
Mhm.
do that if we don't know our own selves, and we can't do the same thing for ourselves.
Took me a long time. I mean, I agree with you totally. I was doing all of these newspapery videos. So there's a filter on TikTok where you can like add a headline, and I thought that was clever. And I was like, hey, Facebook this or TikTok that, and blah blah blah.
Yeah.
And they did fine, 400, maybe 2,000 on a high end. And then I finally, after and this is the reason why I tell people start now, is because you have to move through the suck. right? Like
Yeah.
there's gonna be a lot of
Yeah.
cringe. There's gonna be like, unless you're like the very lucky people that can like kind of hop in and are just kind of naturals, you're gonna move through some cringe.
Mhm.
And I moved through the cringe, and then it took me a while to be like, you know what, I'm gonna film on the longboard.
Mhm.
Like it just took a while.
Yeah.
And then because I had to marry things that I actually like. And the other
Yeah.
thing too is there's stuff in the future that I'll do. Like I'm a martial artist, I'm a musician. Like there's other things I'm sure I'll incorporate
Mhm.
in the future that I don't even know that I will at this present time. But the
Yeah.
only way I'll get there is because I'm following the Tao, the
Yeah.
Camino, the way.
I agree. And I think that, for someone who, again, I said I believe very strongly in experimentation. You can't experiment if you never start. And that is one of the biggest challenges with doing marketing, is that you have to try something. You have to have some sort of frame of reference to start with. And a lot of people do not want to deal with that. Like the fear involved with like doing something completely unfamiliar for the first time. Unfortunately, just like backing up, out of the driveway when you're just learning to drive, you can't get to the point where it's second nature, or where it's not a part of your body doesn't respond to it in a negative way. You can't get there without doing it. You will
Yep.
live, there is no way to magic past it. You have to do it. And of course, because most of us who have, especially if we have our own businesses, we're so far removed from the anxiety that it took to start doing the thing we do for a living, that we don't even remember like that process of having to do it uncomfortable. And you have to
Mm.
do marketing uncomfortable sometimes. And the good thing, I mean, this is probably like, I'm having an epiphany moment. This is probably why I'm a marketer. It's because I love being uncomfortable. And this is like what marketing is. It kind of forces you to be uncomfortable on a regular basis, because there's going to be an algorithm change, or there's going to be a new platform. There's going to be a new type of content. That's always going to happen. And so we have to just get comfortable with being uncomfortable. And if you can do that, if you can like, get yourself kind of geared up for it, then it makes it a lot easier when stuff like this comes at you, so that you're not out there trying to figure out what the latest gimmick is, so that you're really more focused on, okay, I know I'm going to be uncomfortable with whatever the activity is, but I know my audience. That part isn't different. And I know myself. These two things are the same. Everything else might be different, but the core of what you're actually doing is going to be consistent, which is the people you're talking to are going to be the same people. You and your business are going to be the same business. You are just going to be delivering that content in a 60-second format instead of a, blog post or whatever it is you were used to doing.
I love it. Final thing I'll say, and then I'll let you tell the fine folks where to reach you, is that the Google DeepMind and all of these artificial intelligence algorithms, there is no such thing as randomness. I learned this from a machine learning guy.
Yeah.
There's literally like built-in entropy, but the randomness doesn't exist. Point is that when an AI learns chess, the reason why it's better than any human by a large margin is it's failed so many more times than a person can. It will literally pit itself against itself, play 1 trillion games, and it's like, well, I lost 500 billion of these, and no human can ever reach those numbers. And that's
Mhm.
why it's like, well, don't do that move, because that leads to failure. And so
Mhm.
it's following the path that wasn't failure, and that results as a win. And there we go. Ladies and gentlemen, you all know the drill. YouTube.com/send it rising. If you're listening on iTunes or Spotify after the fact, like most people do, we love you. Thank you so much. Why don't you swing by youtube.com/send it rising, hit the like button and subscribe. Check us out on TikTok, tiktok.com/send it rising for some barefoot longboarding videos. You want to see them. I want to give Lindsay Sims, our incredible guest today, a chance to let you know where you can reach her and why. Go ahead, Lindsay.
I would love if y'all could come hang out with me on Instagram. Personally, I'm one of those business owners who actually has a personal Instagram that I send people to. And it's just my first name, middle initial, last name. So Lindsay L. Sims. And find me over there, and you'll learn about my hiking through the woods of Northeast Ohio, and my adventures in marketing, and all the other things that I'm doing to help people navigate marketing even better than they did the day before.
Lindsay L. Sims, Lindsay, L as in lobster, Sims, Sims. Thank you for joining the show. That's it, folks. We'll see you next time. Bye for now.